Now that we're recording, just want to say again, welcome everyone to the second webinar in our new series, Getting Started with OER. I'm DeForest, Communication Strategist with Texas Digital Library. Before we get started, I want to briefly orient you to the controls and BlueJeans that you should see across the top of your screen. You can toggle your webcam and microphone off and on by using these first two buttons on the camera and mic icons. Your microphone and video should have been muted when you came into the meeting, and again we ask you please keep these off and muted for the duration of the webinar. If you are having any audio issues using your computer audio, you can switch to phone audio by clicking on the little down arrow next to the microphone icon. You'll see a phone number to call as well as a numeric code to enter. If you have questions or comments during the presentation today, you can use the chat window, which you'll see in the upper right corner of the screen. Just click on that to open up chat and enter your question. We'll address these questions to presenters during the Q&A part of the webinar. And if you experience any technical difficulties during the presentation, you can let me know in chat. I'm going to put my email address in chat in just a minute, so you can also email me offline to deal with any issues. Now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speakers. Today, our guest speakers will cover tactics for garnering support for OER adoption from faculty, administration, students, and other campus partners. We are joined today by Phillip Anaya, Digital and OER Coordinator at the Alamo Colleges District, Nicole Finkbeiner, Director of Institutional Relations at OpenStax, DeeAnn Ivie, Open Education Coordinator at the University of Texas at San Antonio, Ariana Santiago, Open Education Coordinator at the University of Houston, and Nathan Smith, OER Coordinator and Philosophy Faculty at Houston Community College. We're going to get started with our first presenters, Phillip Anaya and Nicole Finkbeiner. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Leah. Just give me 1 second to get the share going, and we should be good to go. Are we good?
I'm not seeing your screen at the moment, Phillip.
It's coming up. There we go. Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us on the second episode of Tales from an OER Program. My name is Phillip Anaya. I'm from Alamo Colleges, and we have a brand new initiative called Alamo Open. It is our first OER initiative. It is spun out of control from a OER initiative to a true zero-cost program where we utilize a lot of library databases and faculty curated and created copyrighted work that is free for the students. It also includes an Direct component, which is an inclusive access program we have. Together, we've actually impacted over 150,000 students in spring of 15, and that's around 6,700 course sections. That means a savings of an estimated $10 million since the inception of Alamo Open back in spring of 15. We didn't do it by ourselves. We had a lot of faculty help, of course, and some institutional partners such as CCC OER, which many of y'all are familiar with, which is a community college consortium, and OpenStax. So how we got started, basically I was hired with little to no knowledge of what true OER was as a coordinator back in summer of 15, and had a conversation with my boss basically asking me, you should look into this OER stuff, see what you can find out. We really need a program. the chancellor and the board really want to push this initiative for faculty and students, blah, blah, blah. And then they close with, get back to me as soon as you can. Let's see what we can come up with, and we'll go from there. And the funny part is I think many of us have realized that there's zero guidance after those initial conversations. That they pretty much tell you to go do the work and come back with some results. So like most of us, I researched as much as I could, was in every recorded webinar I could find. That's where I found the CCC OER program, and went through pretty much all of their webinars in a matter of a couple of months, and started presenting to faculty. And nothing seemed to work. It pretty much, I'm imagining faculty pretty much like Charlie Brown and hear me wah, 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 every time I went up and spoke to them, and or hitting me with the go to, you're killing my academic freedom speech. So this went on for pretty much the first year of just getting the early adopters and facilitating the ones that brought the OER initiative to our attention and facilitating their growth. At that time, we actually had an email sent to me by one of the librarians, and it was for the OER Open Stacks Institutional Partnership Program. That's where I met Nicole Finkfinder. It kind of laid out everything I was looking for in a systematic way. After actually reaching out to her before I applied and talking to her, it kind of gave me the guidance I needed, and a support network especially. So I want to hand it over to Nicole to explain a little bit more about the program and what they focus on.
All right, thank you so much, Phillip. If you can go to the next slide. So I'm Nicole Finkbeiner. I work at Rice University, and I work on the OpenStax team, but I run a specialized program called the OpenStax Institutional Partnership Program, which is a program where we're able to offer to about 9 to 12 schools a year a completely free coaching program to help you greatly increase the use of OER on your campuses in a year. And so the meat of this program is that you have to be very proactive and persistent. And so we really focus on what I call direct tactics. So these are things where you are actively going out to the faculty members and asking them to let you know if they're willing to look at OER, and then you have to ask them finally, are you willing to pilot or adopt OER? And so these are tactics where you're getting a direct yes, no, or I'm interested, tell me more from faculty members. And then compare that, next slide, with the indirect tactics. And so indirect tactics are things that I nickname, if you build it, they might find it. So these are things like OER committee meetings, having OER on library course reserves, having, what else, an OER website or LIG guide, a display of OER books, things like that. And those are not things, they're helpful, but they shouldn't be your main focus because they're not things where you are directly asking faculty to consider it, and they are directly telling you yes or no, I won't do that, or I will do that, or I need more information. Next slide. All right, so through our research, we have looked at what are some of the top tactics in the direct tactics realm to increase OER. Now, this is a small number. This was 11 colleges and universities. I'm hoping to increase this as we continue to do our program. But I broke it down to 2-year colleges and 4-year colleges and looked at which direct tactics impacted the largest number of new students impacted by OER. And for both of them, it was a grant program. Not shocking. I know a lot of institutions, even on this call, have done grant programs, and those have been very successful. The second one on the 2-year colleges side is presentations during department meetings. This is where you are actively going out to the actual department meeting. And the reason I'm specific on that is faculty tend to, if they're going to show up to anything, they're going to show up to their department meeting. It's also somewhat of an implicit endorsement in the fact that the department chair gives you the floor. And you do a really quick presentation on OER, and then this is what makes it a direct tactic. You pass around a sign-up sheet or some other way of having the faculty let you know either I'm interested or I'm not interested in talking to you further. And then you go and you talk to those faculty and say, are you willing to consider it if we can find you something, and work with them through that process to the point where you finally say, are you willing to consider adopting? And then one-on-one presentations during all faculty meetings. Nathan Smith at Houston Community College is on the line. This was one that was very successful at Houston, and that's during that first of the year meeting where all the faculty are there. And we recommend just doing a quick spiel on OER and then having sign-up sheets on the table for faculty to let you know that they would like to meet with you to talk about adopting OER. And then you follow up with all those faculty. And then, of course, just one-on-one meetings with faculty. We see a lot of schools where they'll just run a quick report of the top 10 or top 25 highest enrolled courses in their institution. Look at what OER is already available. Look at the faculty who are teaching those full-time, and then go have conversations, set up appointments, and go talk to them. And then on the four-year college side, OER training workshops. So those are the open textbook network model of review workshops, and then a faculty referral program. So that's what we see are the direct tactics. Next slide. I love these transitions. And the reason that it's so important to track this process is because if something's not working, we want you to stop focusing on that and focus on other things. So for example, I was working with a community college, and they were doing all these OER, no, I'm sorry, it was a university, and they were doing all of these OER workshops. And they're like, well, we get about 30 to 40 people who attend them each month. And I said, okay, now let's look at how many faculty attendees. And when they went back, they realized that they typically had just one or two other faculty attending those, and the rest were their colleagues. And I said, well, the good news is your colleagues really like you and are there to support you. The bad news is they're not working for you in terms of reaching faculty. You've got to try something else. So that is the real beauty of doing these direct tactics and tracking how much interest you get from each one of them, is you learn very quickly which ones are going to be the best use of your time. So I know a big concern faculty or OER coordinators have is like, oh, I just feel like I'm beating my head against the wall and I'm using all my time to do this stuff. This really shows you where you should be using that time and what is not fruitful for you. Next. And back to Phil.
Thank you. With that, it's like, what did it help? How did it help Alamo? How did it help my program? And how did it help us build and to get to where we are today? And I want to go through a few things, but I want to kind of reiterate on the work we did. It's not turnkey. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of accountability Nicole and her team puts on us, put on the cohort for the year, and a lot of thinking and soul searching. I put on the cover of the comic, the worthless. You get worn down if you keep going to these events that you're putting on and you have zero feedback or zero attendees or zero leads generated. So it's the support system that comes with a program like this is reassuring, because you go through a little bit of failures and you rebuild and rethink and kind of change your passive approach to a more active approach, or indirect to direct, and you build. So if we go through this, what worked for us, I want to show you all of the, I believe there was 10 points we focused on at Alamo and how it worked. So we had some solicitations of the VPs, the higher ups, either deans or presidents, and that failed. The top-down approach really didn't work for us. We're reworking this to actually work through the deans and find those leads in each college and or department. Moving forward, creating the signage to help traffic. This is in process. I think it's going to be a good initiative to help student engagement and awareness. Hosting the faculty discussions was a big success as well. Having their peers come and talk to them versus myself or someone from the outside do the same thing seemed to resonate better with the faculty. Presentations during department meetings was a big success as well. And I actually would stress meeting with discipline and program leads on a one-on-one basis as well. That's been the biggest success currently that I'm pushing. Moving forward, we hosted the webinars. This didn't really work. I think if we revisit this with some more of our champions, we're calling key holders. That might be a better approach, and we'll definitely revisit this as well. Search function, before it was mandated by the state of Texas, was a huge success, and it actually turned a lot of heads and helped answer the question, what is this program and why are we doing it? So it sparked a lot of good conversation, and we got some good leads out of that as well, from people that were behind the scenes doing the work and weren't really showcasing until that attribute popped up. That's where I found a lot of our kind of obscure programs like digital arts has been using it for years, and he's just never told anybody. So that was a big success. Institutional guidelines was a huge success as well. Actually put it into policy as why and where and how to do it was a great program and has been successful. We're currently revising this now to kind of incorporate our inclusive access program more formally. Publishing articles was a failure at first, but we're in the process of redoing this now with our PR department to actually get better buy-in with not only the faculty but the student side. Curating LibGuides at a district level is in process. We've been doing it at the colleges since inception, and has not really generated as much traffic as other programs. And finally, the one-on-one sessions I was banging my head against the wall on has since failed, and we've done more of a workshop on this and actually trying to get off the ground our OCC events that actually get content-specific programs together. So we'll bring those up in the summer for a fall kickoff. But we need to remember, no matter if it's a success or failure, we're doing it for the students, and it may be challenging, but you got to find the right support team and support staff. Like for Alamo, we have CCC OER and OpenStax, and the colleagues that we've met throughout those programs. So definitely shoot us a question, shoot myself. Here's my contact information. If you have any questions or just want to vent, I'm here. And Nicole has done the same for me, so I'm sure she'll welcome any conversation. Thank you.
Phillip and Nicole, this is Leah. Thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation, really helpful, chock full of material. Our next presenter is coming up. We gotta let these credits roll. Gotta let those credits. Okay, that was awesome, by the way. But our next presenter is DeeAnn Ivie from UT San Antonio.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and I have my PowerPoint here. Let me go ahead and pull it up. And let's see. Here. Okay, sorry. Thanks for your patience. So yeah, I kind of approached my presentation for what we've done at UTSA a little bit differently, kind of focusing on getting buy-in from different campus constituents. And I thought I would talk a little bit about students, our faculty, staff, and then how we have worked with administration to help support OER growth on campus. But I am the OER coordinator at UT San Antonio. I've been in this role since 2015, the end of 2015. We also are a partner with OpenStax and found their support tremendously helpful. It still continues to be very helpful. Having quarterly meetings to touch base and find out, what's happening with OER, getting, sharing tactics with other OpenStax partner schools. We have a grant program here at UTSA, and since 2016, in the spring, we actually awarded 5 grants, and those were individual grants, so individual faculty that are implementing OER in at least one section that they teach of a class. In 2017, we awarded 24 grants, and then in 2018, we had 18 that we awarded. We just finished reviewing applications this year, and we have about 20 grants that we are awarding again. We did see a little bit of a decline with group grants. We didn't have any. So I'll talk a little bit about, if I don't forget, how we kind of worked around that this year and helped to increase or change the grants to group grants to grow those a little bit. Our savings, this is a cumulative and projected savings with our grant program is $6.5 million. That does not include our most recent grants that we are about to contact faculty about this spring. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, like I was saying, how we have approached getting buy-in from students. And we've done this a number of ways here at UTSA. One of the great things that I'm really proud of that we've worked on is working with our Student Government Association. We have attended their meetings. Last spring, we attended, it was about 6 to 8 meetings in the spring. We were gearing up for a crowdfunding project with our Student Government Association to raise money for OER so we could award more faculty that are adopting OER. We found out when those meetings were, found out the names of the SGA officers, and then we scheduled individual meeting times with them. We actually met with one of our reps at UT System and talked with her just a few weeks ago. I met with our student success librarian and her to talk about how we could grow OER here at UTSA. What are some additional things we can do? Our crowdfunding project last spring was somewhat successful. We ended up raising around $1,500, so we were able to award 1.5 additional classes. Not a lot, but every little bit helps, and we were able to add that much more money into our bucket. We try to keep in touch with SGA. Our Dean Hendricks, attends their meetings, lets them know, what we're working on. I think what you'll see with our work here at UTSA and as you grow your own OER programs at your campuses, it's constantly sharing your stories to students, to faculty, to administration, to other staff on campus. And the more and more you share those success stories, it's going to keep growing. So our SGA was really interested to know, okay, well, what classes are adopting OER? Can you tell us more about that? Can you tell us about how faculty feel about that? What did they think about it? So they had some really great questions for us. We did not have as much success with the crowdfunding project as we would have liked, but we're going to try it again this fall. In fact, our meeting a couple of weeks ago with SGA was to see, is fall going to be a better time to do that? And the answer is yes, that's going to be a better time. They have their officers for the new year on board. They're not changing positions at that time like they were last spring, so that'll be a better time for them. We are hoping to get them to draft a memorandum about OER. In fact, that's something that I believe one of their reps is working on right now, the one that we met with a couple of weeks ago, drafting a memorandum for our provost to provide additional support for faculty that are adopting OER. I say students, our SGA, have been challenging to work with. We have to send multiple emails to get a response. And I think keeping in mind whenever you're working with SGA, it's going to take a little bit of time, be consistent, send reminder emails as much as you can. Try to get on their agenda to talk about your work with OER. I was really proud last week. I was actually meeting with a student for a research project for a class, and I had a student come by and she was looking for, we do pizza research presentations here at UTSA, so she was asking for directions on that, where that presentation was held, and I told her how to get there, but then she said, oh, and thank you so much for your work with all your work with textbooks. We really appreciate it. And I said, oh, you're a member of SGA. I didn't remember her face, but I knew she must have been, and she said yes, and we really appreciate it. So one of the things we did initially with SGA is we shared the Student Public Interest Research Group's website with them, because there's a whole advocacy toolkit for SGA reps on that website, and it's something that I shared with them initially, and I think it's a great thing to do at every campus to really get that toolkit out to our SGA members. We also were able to work with our student newspaper and get an article in about our partnership with OpenStax back in 2016. I'm going to see if I can actually get out of this presentation just to show you what that looked like. We tried to, so we were able to get in. This was back in 2016 when we first began our partnership with OpenStax, but we need to do this again. It's been 3 years. We attempted to get in last year when we were doing our crowdfunding project, and it was hard to get a response from the editor, but you just kind of have to keep trying with students. Going back over to the presentation, shifting gears a little bit, campus partners. So who are some folks on campus that you can work with, should be working with to help grow OER adoption? We have worked with a lot of different departments on campus to promote OER. We've worked with our registrar, and they have helped us get the list of courses that are using OER into our course search. So we share that list with them. It's basically just an Excel sheet, and they go ahead and pull it in. They work with OIT to make those courses visible and searchable by students. We are also working with online learning too. So I meet with them quarterly. I think a little bit of what I presented last time, you're going to see a little bit of overlap, but I think it's good to hear things a few times too. So I know for me that's really helpful. But working with online learning, I'm meeting with them quarterly. One of the things we did last fall is we both talked with Top Hat or attended a Top Hat webinar, and we're looking at them as an option, as an additional partner for us, maybe. Looking at, OER providers, and online learning can kind of help with evaluating those providers. I know our online learning, the staff member I work with in online learning has been tremendously helpful in evaluating OER providers. So let's see, online learning, the bookstore, of course, we share our list of courses that are adopting OER through our grant program with the bookstore and let them know, which faculty are adopting and what textbook they're using. If it's an OpenStax textbook, we let them know, which one that is. We also have worked with them to get OER and make it more visible in the course search for faculty. More recently, this spring, I've been working with advising to help promote the low-cost textbook filter to students whenever they're registering for classes. We are really just getting into that heavily right now. And one of the things we're going to be doing is on their social media account through advising, they will be promoting the filter using some of the photos that I showed previously of students holding the free textbook sign. And there will be a link to the classes on the library's website that are actually using OER. We wanted to do that because the low-cost textbook filter that we have implemented right now in our course search, it doesn't work perfectly. You have to choose some discipline. You have to choose a discipline in order to see the courses that are using OER. So we thought until we can get that perfected, and working a little bit better, we'll have the full list of courses through our grant program on our website, and kind of promote that with advising through what they call their Registration Ready campaign. So that's something we're working on heavily now, and we'll be working throughout the summer to really work with advising. We're getting flyers ready that they can hand out to students whenever they're registering that have information about the filter and where they can find it whenever they're registering for class. And we're going to be creating posters. We'll have posters in the library elevators that promote the filter, and then we'll also have posters in our room. Advising actually uses our computer room whenever students are registering, so we'll have posters in there promoting the filter as well. So working with faculty. So you'll notice that I started with the easiest group, students. Students were always very happy. It's easy to get buy-in from students with OER. I think the challenge with them is getting them when they're not super busy, which is all the time, right? And now moving into faculty, getting faculty buy-in, I think one of the things that we've done really well here at UTSA, and we're really working on this a lot more this spring, is capturing photos of faculty that are adopting OER so that those faces are out there, sharing their stories, getting photos of them with our free textbook sign. So you'll see our faculty are holding that sign in the photo. We're going to be using these on social media next year whenever we promote our grant program. We work really hard with faculty to, I think getting buy-in with faculty, one of the things we've done well at UTSA is, of course, attend meetings and have individual meetings with faculty as well. But we try to really, I think one of the things that works best is providing a comprehensive list of potential matches for them. So whether that's OER, if there's not OER available, is there a library book that we have that they could use that's no additional cost for students? And we work really hard at this. We have live guides that we have put together, and they are matched to courses. So you can see the ones that we found for writing classes. And we send these out to faculty that teach these classes. So I think if you're able to show a faculty member, hey, this looks like this is a really close match to what you're using, they're going to be so happy, and hopefully promote that with other faculty, let them know, hey, the library found this great book for me. Or maybe we can invite them whenever we have a workshop next time. The library helped me do this. And so I think providing a successful match is really a great way to go about that. We do look to see if we can get a library ebook as a low cost option, and we try to get those that are DRM free, of course, so that it's easy for faculty to share those out, download chapters, that kind of thing. Sorry, I think I'm running over just a little bit. I'll try to go through the last few slides quickly. Working with administration. So we hosted the Texas OER Summit here at UTSA back in November, and we actually invited our provost, our dean invited our provost to welcome the attendees. And that was one really smart way, I think, of getting notice from administration on the work that's being done with OER, not just here at UTSA, but across the state. So I think inviting administration to those events. And the second image is actually our workshop that we hosted about a month ago that we have every spring. We usually have someone from OpenStax, or always have someone from OpenStax, or just have our faculty that are adopting OER present at those workshops. And we may need to reevaluate doing those because I'm not getting as high of attendance as I would like. However, we are capturing them on video so that we can share them with other faculty later. And not only that, we can put them up on our website so we can show administration, this is the work that's being done with OER. One really great thing we did this year is we worked with our president and his wife, and they actually made a personal donation to our OER fund. And so the flyer over here, I apologize, this is really tiny, but a big part of the promotion this year was showing our faculty that our president and his wife had made a personal donation.
DeeAnn, this is Leah. We lost your sound.
You did? Okay.
Or like something got covered up, maybe.
Is that working now?
Yeah, thanks.
That's working? Okay, good. Sorry. We've worked with our administration, like I was saying. I'm not sure when I cut off, but our president and his wife made a personal donation to our OER fund, and that really helped raise the visibility with the faculty. And we included that note on our grants, our flyer promoting our grants, and on our website when faculty were applying. And so, in my conversations with faculty too, letting them know the president is supporting this initiative, I think that really holds a lot of weight in conversations with faculty. So just to kind of tie this all together, keep sharing your stories to everyone, to SGA, with faculty, with other staff on campus. let them know what you're doing. I think just keeping everyone posted about what's going on with OER is one really great way to get buy-in and continue to hold that buy-in with your different constituents on campus. So apologize, I went over a little bit, but thank you so much.
DeeAnn, this is Leah. Thank you. That was just fantastic, and your outreach on your campus is really inspirational. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next speaker is Ariana Santiago from the University of Houston.
Okay, hi everyone. I am about to share my screen. Just a moment. Okay, so hopefully you can see my slides right now. So again, I'm Ariana. I'm the OER coordinator at the University of Houston, and I want to talk about getting a buy-in from faculty by using people who we call faculty champions. Those are who are already on board and supportive of OER to spread the word to other faculty. And this idea of faculty listen to faculty is something that I heard right away when I started in my OER role about a year ago. So I'm going to share just 3 specific examples of how we've taken that approach by showcasing our faculty champions. For a little bit of context, at UH we do have an OER grant program, which we call the Alternative Textbook Incentive Program. And that encourages instructors to replace commercial textbooks with either open educational resources or other freely available or library-sponsored resources. And we're just near completion of the first year of having that program, and we're in the process of reviewing applications for the second year. So the first example I'm going to share is a reception that we held last fall semester. And the goal of this reception was just to recognize those who were awarded through the incentive program and also to provide an opportunity for other people to learn about the program and OER. It was pretty informal. It was a reception, so there was wine and cheese and snacks and mixing and mingling. But the way we incorporated faculty champions is I asked 5 of the award winners if they would do a quick lightning round presentation about how they used OER in their course. So I simply asked them if they would speak for 2 minutes, make 1 PowerPoint slide if they wanted to, and I left it up to them to talk about what they wanted to. So they shared things like their reasons for applying and participating in the program, the benefits they were seeing for their students, and how it impacted their teaching. A huge benefit of this reception overall is that it started to form an OER community at our campus. It's so early on in our OER program, and this was really the first time we had this many people in a room talking to each other about these things. And I think the lightning rounds did add a lot to the experience because it allowed people to share their stories and also learn what other people were doing. And it spurred a lot of really interesting conversation, and you could really feel the excitement in the room, and people were really glad to be there, sharing what they were doing and learning what other people were doing. And it also allowed me to sort of identify who else could be considered a faculty champion to spread the word to other faculty, even if it wasn't someone who did a lightning round presentation. The next example is from a presentation earlier this semester. And the timing of this presentation was right around when we opened up applications for the second round of our incentive program. So the purpose was to promote the incentive program and generate interest in applying for it. So I could have taken an hour and talked about what's the definition of OER, talk about open licenses, telling people what the benefits are, things like that. But again, going back to faculty, listen to faculty, I didn't take that approach. And I instead invited some faculty to co-present with me. And we focused on making the presentation about their experiences and their insights from participating in the first year of the incentive program. So for an hour-long presentation, we split it up into 3 chunks. So the images you're seeing there is just the first slide of each of our sections. I took 15 minutes to talk about the incentive program, and I kept it pretty practical in terms of what they would want to know to apply. Like, are you eligible? What are the award amounts, the timeline, the application process, things like that. And then each of the faculty members had 15 minutes to present, and then of course we had time at the end for questions. I gave them some guidance on what to talk about, but pretty much left it up to them. And that worked out really well because they took different approaches to sharing their experiences. So we had one faculty member talk about using OER for his first year writing course. And he included things like where he searched for OER, how he evaluated the resources, his reasons for taking this approach, and so on. And the other two presenters talked about their course on accounting for the hospitality industry, for which they used a combination of library resources and videos they created. And they focused a little more on how they incorporated the resources into their course modules. So they had screenshots showing exactly how they set it all up in Blackboard. So that was really helpful as well. So I think hearing directly from people who were doing this work and had used OER or had been in the incentive program was so much more effective than it would have been if I had just gone and talked about open licenses and the 5 R's and everything else for 45 minutes. And it also helped with attendance, because I think people are much more likely to show up to a presentation like this to hear their colleagues talk about something, or even just to support their colleagues, and more likely than they would have been if it was just me, I'm someone from the library who they probably don't know. And it was a pretty successful strategy in getting faculty buy-in. So we had 40 attendees at this presentation, which is pretty good for this kind of thing at our institution. Most of those people were faculty, that there were a handful from instructional design, the bookstore, the writing center. And during the Q&A portion, we got a ton of questions, which was a good sign because it wasn't all like skeptics and naysayers. They were the kind of questions where it seemed like people were really interested in learning more. I followed up afterwards with everyone who registered for this presentation and ended up doing 5 more in-depth consultations to talk about OER and applying for the incentive program. We ended up with 25 applications for the program, and on the application form they're asked how they heard about the program, and 8 of those 25 said it was specifically from this presentation. Also, word of mouth is really strong at our campus, and it might be at yours as well. So even just with the people I co-presented with, there's concrete, more interest in their subject areas, and several people from those areas are applying for the program and asking about OER. And the last example I'll go over really quickly. This one is a little different from the first two because it's not using faculty champions in like a presentation or to directly tell their stories, but it's more about involving them in the process. So again, we recently had our deadline to apply for the incentive program, and we're in the middle of reviewing all of those applications. And this I felt was something that should definitely be done collaboratively rather than just by one person. So I put out a call for volunteers on the UH OER listserv. I was hoping 2 or maybe 3 people would volunteer, and I actually got 4. So the group includes 3 faculty, 1 instructional designer, and myself and 1 other librarian. I'll note that throughout this process, I found it really helpful to set expectations and guidelines so they know what they're getting into when they volunteer for this, and to make it as easy as possible for everyone involved. So we had our second meeting of this group this morning, so we're still in the process of doing this, and I can't give you an exact outcome yet. But I will say I think it's a really great learning experience. Everyone, of course, is learning about the OER projects that faculty are interested in and embarking on through looking at the applications. I'm learning about what everyone else in the group thinks about OER and about this process, and getting their questions and their ideas. And whenever we do come across any kind of question, this is a really great opportunity to work through them together. So I went through this really quickly, but just to recap, I went through 3 examples of how we've been using faculty champions: the reception, which started to build an OER community; the presentation, focusing on faculty insights, which increased applications for our incentive program; and then involving them in the process by reviewing the program applications. A few takeaways, of course, always go back to that faculty, listen to faculty. So create opportunities for people to share their experiences, and word of mouth can be a really effective tool for buy-in. And I can share the links to these other resources and to my slides in the chat. Okay, so I will stop sharing my screen.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Ariana. That's just an awesome example of leveraging faculty, and I love that saying, faculty listen to faculty. That's going to become a new saying of mine. Our final speaker today is Nathan Smith from Houston Community College. Take it away, Nathan.
Hello, thanks. I'll start sharing my screen here. All right. this in presentation mode. All right, so I'll talk to you a little bit about HCC. Our sort of flagship program is the Z Degree, a zero-cost textbook program. But I'm going to talk about getting buy-in. I'll probably echo a lot of the things that people have been already talking about. So first thing I wanted to do is just outline some general thoughts I have about getting buy-in. The first is that buy-in is really, I think, the most important thing you could do in the OER initiative. And I've heard this phrase from, Nicole Finkbeiner and also from Dean Hendricks at UTSA. The idea that you are the sales rep. And then I have to say, it kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, just because I'm so anti-marketing as just an individual. But I do think there's some important ideas contained within that. So I've tried to distill that into a way that makes sense for me. And I think what sales reps do is they build relationships. If you've seen your sales reps around campus, or faculty who are sort of dedicated users of a certain textbook, likely they have a relationship with a sales rep. The second thing, though, I think that you can do is promote a shared vision around OER. I just think this is really important to sort of get out in front and talk about why we're doing this and what is driving it. I want to remind people, I think this has been said, I think Ariana's point was really well taken, but curriculum instruction and textbooks are the purview of faculty, and I think we have to respect that. This is why I think it's really important to spotlight faculty leaders and focus our efforts in a way that doesn't alienate faculty through mandates or through I think Phillip mentioned that an overly top-down approach can sometimes fail. I think this is the reason why. The rest of the talk, I'm just going to go through some different things, talk about my top strategies. We also were partners in the OpenStax Institutional Partner Program, and that is so helpful for me. It was during the first year that I was a full-time OER coordinator. And one of the things that's great about it is it forces you to assign a number to every strategy. And so I actually can go through and enumerate the top strategies. I'll talk about successful events and then dealing with difficult programs, some challenges recruiting students, and then just briefly about our OER steering committee, which is a sort of cross-functional team. All right, so my top strategies, the biggest strategy for me was one-on-one contacts. I mean, it's a little bit of a cheat here because I kind of included everything that wasn't captured anywhere else in this one-on-one contacts. The main reason is that my biggest and most important resource that I have is a master contact list. So every time I have an event or every time I do a survey that indicates interest in OER, I add the information about those faculty into a master contact list. So their names, their email, their phone number, the program they're in, the campus they teach at, where I got the lead, whether they've adopted OER or not. So all that stuff goes in, and we've gotten up to about 350, 400 names at this point. I can sort those by discipline. I can sort them by campus and send out notices. I do send that through email, but I think it's important not to overuse email. Sometimes a phone call is a lot better. You don't want to become the spam in your on campus. As Nicole mentioned, one of our most successful single events was an instructional day presentation. So instructional day is the single day in-service event for all full-time faculty. I was given 20 minutes in front of faculty. It was during lunch, but somehow I was able to retain their attention a little bit. Nicole was really helpful in helping me think about how to get the sign-in sheets to everyone. So I actually we were at tables, people were eating lunch. It's an enormous room. We have like 700 full-time faculty, and so I put like sign-up sheets at every single table, and I even like seeded them a little bit with some close colleagues of mine who put their names on there first, so people didn't feel like they had to put their name on a blank sheet. It was really effective. I got like 60 new contacts from that. The next big thing is our Z degree recruitment and training. You know, the Z degree was kind of a flagship for us, and so we had to staff courses and contacted chairs about willing faculty and then took them through a training process. That's now transitioned into an OER certificate program that works with some workshops that I do. So I do 6 workshops every semester. Half of them are just an intro workshop on, you know, what are OER, how do I use them? And then half of them are sort of a little more advanced look at open educational practices like open pedagogy, you know, open science, open scholarship, open access. How do these things change our practice in academia? So if a faculty member completes those workshops together with some other training that's offered through our CTL Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence, they get a $300 stipend. I also wanted to mention successful events. Now, one of the things that's important is that I didn't put any events on the most successful strategies. I think that's actually noteworthy. Events attract people who are already using OER. I don't get a lot of new people at my events. But some of the things that make events successful, I think, is if they're targeted, you know what you're doing, you know who you're inviting and why you're hosting the event. One of our really successful events recently was a dual credit workshop where we invited deans, chairs, program coordinators, leadership. We brought a team from OpenStax over. We brought our bookstore reps in, and we talked about this issue that we're facing with our dual enrollment or dual credit. You know, how do we reduce the cost of textbooks for high schools? It was really effective. We actually worked with a facilitator, and she designed it. We're hopeful. We have an OER summit next week. We've invited Barbara Olowski to lead a workshop. So similarly, I'm working with Barbara to sort of design that event. So it's going to include, it's not just a speaker, it's going to be a workshop. I'm targeting some programs, trying to get us to build some things. So we're trying to make it focused. Department meetings, one of my favorite was going to our HCC corrections department, which is a continuing education service we provide at the county jail. And we had some really cool things come out of that, where, for instance, we've got iPads that we've disabled the internet Wi-Fi on it, and we've loaded like PDF texts that are used by the correction department onto those iPads, and we're giving it to them to use. And I think it's really good. Sometimes you think about these events and on campus and stuff, and it's hard to beam people out in an event. You know, sometimes a webinar is the best way to go. So, like, to give you an example, you know, the first year in 2018, that first year that I was OER coordinator, I wanted to do a big Open Ed Week thing. We invited David Wiley in for a kickoff event, and then we had all these, faculty showcases throughout the week where I was trying to highlight faculty, and it was really hard. I mean, it's right around midterms for us, so and right before spring break, and we just had really low attendance. I was kind of depressed. We put on all this work and people didn't come. So this year, what I did was I just did a webinar, and I invited 4 faculty who are using OER to come, and we did a roundtable. We exceeded capacity for the webinar. We had people from all over the country attend, recorded it, and sent it out. I feel like that was way more successful. So, you know, sometimes a webinar works. I'm going to talk a little bit about just dealing with difficult programs. I'm going to try to go through these kind of quickly. But I think trust is so important. You know, find your allies. You know, sometimes people who are critical actually wind up being allies. You know, this was true with our economics department. We had a faculty member who, he was interested, he wanted to learn more, but he was really skeptical. And now he's actually a recipient of one of the Texas OER grants, and he's building OER for his Econ 1 and 2, micro and macro. So it's really, he's kind of been won over. I always say, like, you know, if you can't get through the front door, try the side door, maybe the back door, maybe even a window. I mean, you don't know what's going to break through, so you got to try everything. Just keep going. I think along these lines, like, it's important, and this is one of the big pushes I've made this spring, is to encourage the use of OER courseware. faculty have become used to having, a full wraparound support from publishers, and we have providers that actually do that for OER. I think we should embrace that. I think it's a crucial step in development. Okay, I have challenges recruiting students. I'm looking like we are almost out of time. So what I'm going to do is just kind of go through this. I mean, basically, when we launched the Z degree, we tried to target like a group of students. We kind of imagined a cohort, like a loose cohort of students that we would take through. So we did this big marketing outreach. We looked at people who fit certain qualifications, like they were interested in a business major, they were college ready. And anyway, we had a big web campaign. I got like 600 students, called and emailed every single one of them. We held these 3 orientation events. Like 40 students showed up through over all of those orientation events. And out of those students, I mean, I had them, what I did was I gave them a list of courses. I had everything set up. They had an advising schedule. All they had to do is walk over to advising and get registered for courses. We only had 5 people get enrolled. And I mean, I can't imagine a more hands-on and sort of integrated event to get students to actually enroll in OER. And I felt like it was so frustrating. It just didn't work. So, we've got our website. We are doing course tagging in SIS. I saw that question about Banner and integrating OER and Banner. We use PeopleSoft. But all we've done is we've created a course tag for low cost and zero cost books. And we have a search filter that allows you to filter results just for that. We also every enrollment period, it's right before enrollment, we do a social media sort of announcements and an advertising campaign that directs people to our website, the Z Degree website. It's not perfect. We need to polish it and get better, but that's something we're working on. All right, I'm almost out of time. So our OER steering committee, this is kind of a big thing for us to have a cross-functional team. And one of the things, we started this committee as a capstone project in the summer of 2015. This has become kind of a core part of it. We only meet quarterly for about an hour and a half, but our membership is really cross-functional, and we keep adding people. Like if we realize we need something, we just invite somebody there. So, financial aid came on, and we said, oh, we need someone from enrollment. Well, let's invite someone from enrollment. We need someone from advising. Well, let's get them in the door. So I think it's really important to bring everybody together. And I just close with this quote from Steve Jobs, which I think, I think it can be a source of inspiration for us, that if we keep our vision clear and consistent, we know what we're doing and why we're doing it, that can be our biggest selling point, and hopefully get buy-in from everyone. All right. I think that's it. I will stop sharing, and thanks.
Okay, Nathan, thank you so much. That was just chock full of awesome advice. I also really want to thank all of our speakers for sharing not only your successes, but your failures, because I think those are really helpful for people to see. It is 2 o'clock right now, so we are out of time as far as this webinar goes. Now, if our presenters and folks who want to have a Q&A are willing to hang on for another 5 or 10 minutes, we're happy to stay with you. Thanks, Amy. It was great to see you. We did have a few questions come out through Q&A. They were, one specifically was addressed to Phillip and Anaya. And if you could, Phillip, share how you incorporate OER course designation into your college's banner system. And maybe for those of us who don't know what banner is, describe what that is.
Sure. Banner's our student information system. It's been here as long as I've been here, if not longer. And it's a little different. So backstory with Alamo, we're a unique system where we have 5 independently accredited colleges throughout the district, and 1 district, 1 board, 1 chancellor. So we have 1 installation of this program. So trying to get buy-in across the 5 colleges at 1 autonomy was a little difficult. But that's where it started, was approaching from the point of the students, like this is mainly for students and for students to locate courses, where's the best place for it. Consensus was made that it was in attribution and location, so that would be searchable for students in the course schedule. So that's where we put it. So it's a schedule attribute, and it is tagged with Alamo Open. We have both AOER, which is Alamo Open Educational Resources, no cost, and Alamo IM Direct, which is our inclusive access program. So we try and lead with the A, so they're listed alphabetically, so we can have it there for the students. If you need more details, I can reach out to me, and I can definitely get you in touch with the programmer on the backside to see where exactly it is and get you the tables and whatnot if you need more detail.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone still on the call that would like to type a question into chat? We can take another question or two. Looks like a question from Angela Lucero. Has anyone had to deal with colleagues or bosses not wanting to be intrusive with campaigning or promoting OER? Any of our presenters would like to go ahead?
I can take that for yeah, I mean, I run into that barrier a lot when I'm coaching colleges and universities, and it is a tricky balance, and I'm glad that Nathan Smith mentioned that, because you don't want it to be seen as like a top-down initiative or such. But what I find most interesting is when I do like focus groups across the country with faculty and talk to them about, you know, one of my favorite questions to ask during those is, what would encourage you to adopt? Like what if you were in my shoes coaching your institution, what would you say? And often what comes out in those is, I really want to know that's something that senior administrators support. And I think that's interesting because a couple of reasons, and I've kind of fleshed this out with them. Number one, they want to make sure they're not going to get in trouble for it, which is an interesting thing to think about, but I'll just leave it at that. And then also, they really do pay attention to whatever the priorities of the president and provost are. And that tends to be what faculty pay attention to. That's also the people that if they're going to open emails, that tends to be the emails that they open. So one of the things that I work with colleges and universities on is drafting a letter of support that is very clear that this is not a mandate, this is not anything. It's just saying, this is a really cool option. We would love you to consider it if it's something that would meet your needs. Very, very soft language, but still, and I really like the email of support because from a senior administrator, because then faculty, if for some reason, and I've never, other than that one really weird incident in California, I've never heard of a faculty member getting in trouble for switching to an OER, but they just like having that as kind of a final piece of evidence that they have permission. So I'll stop at that.
Yep, that was great. And I want to thank Michelle Reed for pasting a link to a project about OER tagging integration with those student systems like Banner. We'll share that link in a follow-up email with other resources. Are there any other questions from people still on the line? While you're thinking, I will let everyone know that we will be following up with a link to this recorded and captioned webinar, as well as our presenters' slides. We are looking at June. We don't have an exact date yet for the next webinar in our series, but sometime in early to mid-June for the next webinar, which will be about sustaining OER on your campus. So if there are no further questions, I just want to thank all of our presenters again today for sharing your experiences, especially to our members who attended today and all of our partners and new friends who came. Thank you all so much, and keep an eye out for that email.